This is an essay from Civil Services Main Examination 2021. The topic of the essay is History repeats itself first as a tragedy and then as a farce. Here, the word farce means as a joke or satire. I will read the complete essay, but before that मैं हिंदी में बता देता हूँ कि इस स्टेटमेंट का बेसिक आइडिया है क्या। अ, देखिए, हिस्ट्री की घटनाएं अपने आप को रिपीट करती हैं। ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटना जिसमें ह्यूमन लाइफ, प्रॉपर्टी या वेल्थ का अत्यधिक नुकसान होता है, उसे ट्रेजिडी कहते हैं। कार्ल मार्क्स के अनुसार ऐसी घटना ट्रेजिडी है अगर वे हिस्ट्री में फर्स्ट टाइम होती है। अगर ऐसी घटना फिर रिपीट होती है जिसमें ह्यूमन लाइफ, प्रॉपर्टी अथवा वेल्थ का बहुत नुकसान होता है, तो ये उन ह्यूमन बींग्स पर, उन मनुष्यों पर एक फार्स है, एक स्टायर है, उन ह्यूमन बींग्स पर एक जोक है जो इसे प्रिवेंट कर सकते थे अगर उन्होंने हिस्ट्री से सबक लिया होता। इस ऐसे में इसी आइडिया को एग्जाम्पल्स की हेल्प से एलेबरेट किया गया है। जैसे कि वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 एक ट्रेजडी थी, ह्यूमन सोसाइटी ने इससे कोई सबक नहीं लिया और सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वार हुई। सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वार वाज अ स्टायर और फार्स ऑन ह्यूमन सोसाइटी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। इसी प्रकार एक और एग्जाम्पल है, 1804 में नेपोलियन वन ने फ्रांस के रिपब्लिक रिजाइम का तख्ता पलट करके वे खुद वहाँ का डिक्टेटर बन गया था। ऐसी ही घटना फिर रिपीट हुई 1851 में, जब नेपोलियन 3 फ्रांस के सेकेंड रिपब्लिक रिजाइम का तख्ता पलट करके फ्रांस का डिक्टेटर बन गया था। नाउ लेट्स रीड दिस ऐसे। इसमें मैंने ऐसे ही कुछ और एग्जांपल भी दी हुई हैं और इस आइडिया को एलैबोरेट करने के लिए, एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए कुछ और एग्जांपल्स भी दी हुई हैं। हिस्ट्री रिपीट्स इटसेल्फ इज अ कोट बाय हीगल, a 19th century German philosopher. This quote simply means that world has pattern of repeating what has happened in past. This phrase was further modified by Karl Marx as history repeats itself first as a tragedy and then as a farce. Here, farce means as a satire or as a joke. Karl Marx used this statement in an essay on French coup in 1851 when Napoleon III overthrew the Republic regime of France and became the dictator. This historical happening was a repetition of another similar happening of past when the first Republic regime of France was overthrown by Napoleon I in 1804. Both overthrew the republic regime by false promise of democratic and welfare state to the people of France. Both ruled as dictators. Napoleon III fooled the people of France in 1851 in a way similar to Napoleon I did in 1804. Therefore, in the eyes of history, this was a farce or a joke on people. Had the people of France taken lesson from the history, they would not have fell in trap of Napoleon III. If we do not take lesson from past tragic events and repeat the same mistake, then it is a farce on us. It is our silliness. We will be a joke in eyes of history. Tragedy is an event of great suffering or destruction. It may be an attack by powerful enemy nation, a natural catastrophe, a horrific accident, outbreak of a disease, collapse of economy, etc. When such tragic events happen for the first time, we may have no idea about their happening. We may not be prepared for them. Therefore, we may be forgiven even if we fail. However, such tragic historic events leave a lesson to learn. If we do not take lesson, we will suffer a big loss when similar events will repeat in future because history repeats itself. The tragic events of history do repeat itself, though not exactly, but in almost similar plot and circumstances, but with different characters. World War I was a tragedy. It caused huge destruction. Man did not took lesson from this tragic war and again got engaged in World War II in 1939. Second World War was a farce on whole or in the whole mankind. It only gave destruction. Even the winners had lost a lot. Tension between Russia and US, China and US can trigger World War III. If this happens, it will be a farce on human society of the world. Use of nuclear weapon in Hiroshima and Nagasaki was a tragedy. Any use of nuclear weapons in future will be a farce on mankind. Russia forcibly annexed Crimea in 2014. That was a tragedy. Nobody did anything. Now Russia is annexing territory of Ukraine. This is a farce or a joke on so-called powerful civilized nations. Imperialist or colonial powers exploited the weaker nations for long period of time. Although the colonies became independent in 20th century, but imperialism and colonial tendencies are still there. For example, powerful nations like China are playing farce with weaker nations like Sri Lanka and Pakistan. These countries are in debt trap of China. China is encroaching upon the territory and ports of these nations. Colonial history is again repeating but in different form. Second COVID wave in India was a tragedy. It killed a large number of people. COVID cases are still detected every day, but we have not learned from the past. Most of us do not follow the COVID appropriate behavior. If our carelessness again causes another destructive COVID wave, then it will be a farce or joke or a mockery on us. Another example of tragic failure was Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812. He invaded Russia with army of approximately 6 lakh soldiers. He was successful in capturing Moscow, but while return trip the army had to face freezing temperature as low as minus 37 degrees centigrade. In this chilling weather, thousands of forces were killed, and out of 6 lakh soldiers, only 10,000 could reach back home. Same historical mistake was repeated by Hitler in 1941. He invaded Russia in June 1941 under Operation Barbarossa. Despite having several books about Napoleon, he sent his army unprepared for upcoming winter. While coming back from Russia, winter had started and army had to go through freezing weather which killed about 8 lakh German soldiers, making Barbarossa one of the deadliest operations in the history. If Hitler had taken lesson from Napoleon's mistake, he could save his army from disaster. Genocide of Jews in Nazi Germany killed about 6 million innocent Jews. This was a tragedy. Hitler was condemned and criticized for mass killing of Jews. All the nations and international bodies had expressed deep concern on genocide of Jews. Countries like US took pledge to stop such genocides and assured such killings never happen again. But sadly, several such genocides took place after this. Cambodia's Khmer Rouge between 1975 and 1979 killed as many as 2 million political dissidents. In 1994, Rwanda's Hutu government killed over 1 million Tutsis. Repetition of such genocides is a farce on civilized nations. It is a stir on human rights organizations, United Nations, and whole human society of world. History is a great teacher. It leaves lessons for future. Historic events do repeat, though with different characters. Historic happenings may repeat after few years, after few decades, or centuries. Any historic happening where humans suffer huge loss when happens for the first time, it is a tragedy. Such tragedies leave lesson to be learned. If similar tragic historic events repeat with huge loss to mankind, then it is a farce on human wisdom and civilization. Thank you.